Just last week, federal agents raided 2 homes of rapper and music mogul Sean P. Diddy Combs in Los Angeles and Miami. Combs is the subject of a federal investigation.
Again, we do not know what is the information that law enforcement had before going in to execute that search warrant.
We thought we had seen every twist the celebrity circus could fling at us, but the confession dropped like a meteor in the quiet hours before dawn. Cassie's husband had finally blurted out that Sean Diddy Combs had been wiring them a neat $1 million every single month. Yes, 12 fat bundles a year, just to keep their lips stapled shut. Picture it. Hush money payments so huge they would make even the most jaded fixer choke on his oat milk latte. We had always whispered that Diddy's closets rattled with more bones than a theme park haunted house, yet the sheer audacity of this number jolted us awake. We leaned forward, phones glowing under the covers, wondering what shadow-drenched secrets could possibly come with such a staggering price tag. Were we on the brink of the entertainment industry's very own magnum opus scandal? Or was this only the overture to an operatic meltdown that would leave reputations in tatters and careers smoldering?
Yeah, that's right. Cassandra Ventura, also known as Cassie, walked in with her head held high and did not make eye contact with Sean Combs. But she did describe a relationship that lasted over 10 years with Combs in which she says he was the one in control.
We replayed his words, feeling the chill of implications seep in. If Diddy needed to buy silence with that kind of cash, then whatever he was hiding must make garden variety tabloid sins look like parking tickets. We pictured luxury hotel suites transformed into clandestine negotiation war rooms, clauses thicker than phone books listing who must never breathe a syllable about what. And there, at the center, Cassie and her husband, once cast by gossip columns as the sweethearts escaping a toxic past, now revealed as gatekeepers to pandemonium. Were they brave whistleblowers who had finally broken free, or willing co-conspirators in a giant hush fund hustle? Suspicion clung to them like the scent of too much cologne in an elevator.
Lawsuit, it really did open the floodgates, as you said, because it detailed almost 2 decades of hidden coercion.
By the third replay, we felt the moral ground tilting. Cassie, the singer who once crooned innocent hooks, and her newly crowned spouse, a personal trainer turned family man in tailored suits, suddenly looked a shade less pure. If they had accepted those gilded gag orders for even a second, did that not make them complicit in burying whatever nightmare Diddy wanted erased? We couldn't ignore the math. $1 million a month equals $12 million a year. Enough to buy silence, sure, but also enough to tempt even the most righteous soul to look the other way. And then, as icing on this crooked cake, came the revelation that they'd wanted more. Much more. That was the spark that lit the powder keg. According to insiders with coffee breath gossip and trembling hands, Cassie's husband allegedly leaned across a posh steakhouse booth, murmured that $1 million a month no longer cut it, and hinted they'd reveal everything unless the wire transfers grew fat enough to make Jeff Bezos blush. Blackmail is an ugly word, so we'll call it what the power players whispered: leverage. But leverage in the wrong hands turns into dynamite, and somewhere between the lobster tails and chocolate lava cake, the situation lurched from hush money tango to all-out hostage crisis. Diddy, incensed, reportedly vowed to shred them in court. Cassie's team filed a civil suit so dramatic it seemed ghost-written by the showrunner of a streaming thriller. By sunrise, legal filings flew faster than studio executives at an awards season after-party.
As you all know, I made a request today for what we were calling a gag order, and I'm not going to walk out of court and do anything other than...
The courtroom became a pressure cooker. We heard the gasp-worthy rumor that Diddy and Cassie's husband nearly came to blows right there between the wood-paneled walls, security scrambling while the judge hammered his gavel like a DJ with a broken beat. Some swear Diddy's diamond cufflinks hit the floor. Others claim a bodyguard intercepted a rogue right hook. Cameras were banned, but eyewitness sketches leaked in eager pencil strokes. 2 silhouettes lunging, an entourage peeling them apart, reporters glued to every tensed jaw muscle. Was it melodrama? Probably. Did it fuel the narrative? Absolutely. And in the haze of sworn statements and hushed sidebar conferences, the allegations surfaced that Diddy maintained a covert witness bribery fund, a clandestine kitty stuffed with more hush dollars destined for anyone who might squeal. We imagined brown envelopes sliding across marble tables, NDs rustling like leaves in a gale, a paper trail that could form a pyre high enough to roast an empire.
Listen to everybody, but you believe all proof.
Believe the facts.
This video is proof.
Oh, hands down proof.
You know?
Right when we thought the plot had peaked, leaked screenshots of what insiders dubbed Cassie's revenge emails appeared like digital ghosts. Lines hinted at long-range schemes, a chessboard view on which she would hold Diddy's misdeeds hostage until her payoff reached generational wealth territory. One message allegedly read like a manifesto on power reversal. Another sketched out a timeline for maximum public relations damage. Were these the calculated moves of a trauma survivor weaponizing her pain? Or the cold strategy of a double agent out for platinum-plated vengeance? The inbox glimmered with betrayal so sharp it could slice through a manslaughter conviction.
They're like, I can't believe it. Like that somebody would do that to somebody that they say they love.
Yeah.
Think about it, because she was on the floor, passed out. She looked lifeless.
We stepped back to survey the crumbling citadel once known as the Bad Boy Kingdom. For decades, Diddy had strutted over pop culture, his name synonymous with yacht parties, private jet escapades, and diamond-crusted catchphrases. Now, the glitter felt like camouflage, peeled away, to expose something fetid beneath. Headlines once praising his eye for talent, now emblazoned words like racketeering and trafficking. Boardrooms whispered exit strategies, brand partners fumbled for emergency clauses, streaming numbers dipped as listeners questioned every lyric that once pulsed through club speakers. We felt the chill that creeps in when a titan's armor cracks.
Drika, how would you describe Cassie's demeanor when she took the stand today?
When she walked in there, Rachel, she had on a brown dress, form-fitting, visibly pregnant, head held high, and did not make any eye contact.
How many voices had been stifled by lavish settlements or intimidation marathons? The indictment painted a portrait of intimacy marathons called freakoffs, multi-day, chemically enhanced theatrics featuring hired companions and videotaped spectacle, allegedly orchestrated by Diddy for his private gratification. Witness after witness described hotel suites transformed into kaleidoscopes of dim lights, silk sheets, and pillows soaked in a fog of party enhancers. Cassie told the jury those events became a job, a chilling phrase we can't erase from our thoughts. She spoke of feeling trapped inside a gilded cage, identity dissolving into a role scripted by someone else's appetite.
Talking about her experience in that video, how she had a big movie premiere that was coming up, and what had happened was they were engaged in a freak-off that she didn't really want to be a part of, and Combs had punched her. She knew she had a black eye. She felt she had to get out of there, so she waited for a moment when he was occupied. She said he may have been on the phone, in the shower.
He remembered the surveillance footage, so infamous it earned primetime billing. A hallway scuffle from 2016, where a towel-clad Diddy yanked Cassie, shoved her, dragged her across carpet like discarded luggage. It flickered on the courtroom monitor while jurors leaned forward, while Diddy's attorneys insisted the clip was doctored, while Cassie's hands shook at the memory. That video may be only seconds long, yet in those seconds, the public saw a superstar's polished veneer scorch away, leaving raw aggression. And when Cassie, voice quivering but steady, declared, "I felt worthless, just like dirt," that I didn't matter to him, we felt the collective inhale of everyone watching the broadcast ticker scroll. One juror wiped a tear. Social media erupted with fury memes and think pieces on power imbalance.
Does he have a shot? I think his attorneys raised some good arguments.
I think they raise good arguments as well. Maybe this will be third time's the charm, because the difference between this bail motion and the prior two is that this one really does get to the heart of what the court was concerned about, which was witness intimidation.
Diddy's defense barreled in like a wrecking ball, clad in designer suits. They painted Cassie as a willing adventurer in those intimacy expeditions, flashing chat logs peppered with flirty banter, brandishing transcripts where she joked about being always ready to freak off. They hammered her with questions about a settlement she'd taken in 2023, $20 million pocketed in a day, implying the only thing she fought for was a bigger payday. Yet Cassie never blinked when she said, "I'd give that money back if I never had to do freak-offs," a line that rang through the chamber like church bells at midnight. We felt the pendulum swing again toward empathy. And still, the defense gnawed. They dragged out jealousy spats, mental health rumors, whispers of mutual violence. We wondered whether the jury, bombarded by legal fireworks, could parse the difference between a toxic relationship and a criminal enterprise. Meanwhile, prosecutors stacked evidence, seized hotel paraphernalia, packages of powdered bravery, mood lighting gadgets, stacks of cash, inert still life exhibits that hinted at long nights better left unremembered. Dawn Richard of Danity Kane took the stand, recounting breakfast-time fury when Diddy allegedly hurled a skillet because his eggs weren't perfect. She described Cassie shielding her face, falling to the floor while security looked on, powerless or complicit. The judge's gavel banged again as objections flew, but this scene was seared into our imagination like scorch marks on stainless steel.
So her mother said that Sean Combs said that he wanted $20,000 because of money that he spent on Ventura. So the mother and her husband took out a $20,000 home equity loan, transferred that money into a checking account, and then sent it to Combs.
We couldn't ignore the cavalry working quietly behind Cassie, the razor-sharp legal squad whose bespoke suits cost more than a starter condo and whose conference rooms overlook the very courthouse they now stalk. We noticed how every document they filed arrived in choreographed waves. First, the civil claim that stunned Diddy into that lightning-fast settlement 2 years ago, then the surgically precise motions that pried open sealed evidence for the criminal trial. They set the rhythm of this saga with the confidence of maestros guiding a symphony, wielding precedent like a baton and teaching us that in the realm of the ultra-rich, litigation is its own performance art. We watched them bargain with chilling composure, pushing the initial $30 million settlement demand like poker pros who knew the other player's hand before the cards hit. Felt. When Diddy countered with 20, they accepted, but not before securing clauses that let them pivot to criminal cooperation if new offenses surfaced. Clauses that would later prove radioactive. It was a masterclass in pressure economics. Leverage the threat of public disgrace, cash out, then leave the door ajar for round 2 once public sentiment turned. Justice or jackpot. The line blurred at the exact moment the wire transfer cleared and Cassie's team slid seamlessly into a new role as crusaders for accountability.
We're really starting to get more of Cassie's side of this story, and a very striking moment in court too was that she broke down crying earlier during her testimony. Eureka talked about how she talked about doing these freak-offs because she wanted one-on-one time.
We noticed their fingerprints all over the media cycle. Strategic leaks to late-night hosts, anonymous background briefings that steered headlines towards systemic abuse instead of tabloid melodrama, and discreet tips that kept the surveillance footage alive on streaming banners even after the courtroom projector went dark. They understood that jurors don't just deliberate evidence, they absorb atmosphere. So they turned every recess into a mini press conference. No microphones needed, just well-placed murmurs about pattern, enterprise, and coercion. Each whisper softened public doubt and hardened the perception that Cassie's ordeal symbolized a wider rot. Yet the morality of their mission hangs in the balance. We've heard the silent scoffs from rival attorneys who claim these advocates tallied potential documentary deals and memoir advances long before they drafted victim impact statements. We've peeked at spreadsheets, allegedly circulated over encrypted channels, projecting post-trial speaking fees that climb with every grim revelation. Was Cassie empowered or weaponized? Did her trauma become a line item in a revenue forecast? In a world where billable hours spiral past the cost of beachfront land, purity of purpose can vanish like steam off courtroom coffee.
That this is the end of the Diddy story as we know it.
This knife edge exposes a flaw in the justice machine. When fortunes are limitless, verdicts can look like business outcomes, and counsel on both sides turn emotion into commodity. Diddy's own defense arsenal commands $2,000+ an hour, but Cassie's team isn't far behind, and the duel feels less like David versus Goliath than Titan versus Titan. We're left wondering whether the system can still deliver truth when every pleading, every press release, every teardrop on the witness stand doubles as leverage for the next negotiation. Perhaps that's the most unsettling twist yet. Justice has become just another brand, and both teams are fighting to trademark it first. Away from the courthouse, we track the domino effect. A list acquaintances issued cryptic statements, distancing themselves without quite condemning. Former collaborators quietly yanked forthcoming features, managers scrubbing Instagram feeds. Every new witness name, Ye, Mike Myers, Michelle Williams, sparked threads about who saw what, who stayed silent, who signed dotted lines in exchange for promotional cameos. We began to suspect a latticework of enablers stretching far beyond one label. If Diddy could deploy hush funds at $1 million a month, how many minor players accepted pocket change to zip their mouths? We pictured spreadsheets of inconvenience payouts, documentary footage locked in vaults, hard drives buried in suburban basements.
Well, you got to do your due diligence, and his team should have did the due diligence. And a lot of times, people do slip through the cracks. There's things that you don't see and don't find out until later on. But I mean, when people are making claims like the way people are making claims, you have to do your due diligence to make sure that if you're having that person on your platform, which is a huge platform, that you're putting out the proper and correct news.
Cassie's testimony about intimate blackmail chilled us further. She recalled him tapping laptop keys on a transatlantic flight, laughing as explicit footage of her played for seatmates wearing noise-canceling headphones. She described frantic texts to associates, begging them to track down leaked clips before they torpedoed her nascent career. She told jurors she once threatened a man in Atlantic City, voice raw with panic, demanding he show her any video he possessed. The audio recording spilled across the courtroom speakers. We heard her desperation, her anger, her fear. Then the prosecution let the silence hang, a silence heavier than any audio. We asked ourselves, was Diddy's alleged control strategy a one-woman operation, or the template he used to dominate anyone inside his orbit? Prosecutors hinted at a criminal network disguised as a record label. Employees sourcing party enhancers, bodyguards confiscating passports, assistants collecting digital copies of intimate encounters like trophies. RICO charges loomed over the boardroom like storm clouds. If the jury buys the enterprise theory, years of carefully curated philanthropy and millionaire swagger could convert into a lifetime behind barred metal doors. And don't forget the brand apocalypse. Streaming platforms flagged content, sponsors suspended contracts, fragrance lines vanished from department stores overnight. We picture marketing interns yanking posters, dumping cologne bottles into locked bins. Meanwhile, fans argued in comment threads, some claiming this was a witch hunt, others citing every rumor since the 90s as proof destiny had finally caught up. The stock of cultural relevance which once traded sky high began to nosedive, and each court recess hammered another nail into the coffin of Diddy's untouchable mythos.
Reason why is because they gathered so much evidence. Supposedly they gathered so many videos and laptops and also electronic.
As week 5 of the trial dawned, we realized we weren't just watching a single man's reckoning, but potentially the unmasking of an entire scene built on hush culture. If Diddy topples, who tumbles next? Whose NDAs are already smoldering in shredders? Whose lawyers are drafting preemptive apologies? Whose group chats are burning through messages quicker than they can erase? We sense tectonic plates shifting under the glitz of Hollywood and the swagger of hip-hop. Victims once reluctant are now dialing attorneys. Journalists compare calendars, plotting investigative series. This story feels bigger than any platinum plaque, bigger than any yacht deck handshake. We stand on the cliff edge of an outcome we can scarcely predict, but the aroma of downfall is in the air. Were Cassie and her husband brave truth seekers who finally detonated a fortress of corruption, or self-interested players who hit the jackpot then demanded triple? Did Diddy mastermind a witness bribery machine, or was he an artist ensnared by his own excess, targeted by opportunists smelling blood in the water? The jury will soon weigh testimony, but the court of public opinion has already reached a fever pitch, its verdict written in furious tweets and reaction videos. And so we close tonight's broadcast trembling with anticipation, because the next gavel strike could send shockwaves through every corner of celebrity culture. If the bad boy crown finally cracks, will it reveal nothing but tarnish and rot, or will it expose a labyrinth of shared guilt where everyone, from stylists to studio executives, has dirty hands? We followed every hush payment, every leaked email, every teary recollection, but the ultimate revelation still lurks behind sealed evidence and anxious sidebars. We'll be here, breath caught in our throats, waiting to see whether this is the definitive downfall of a once mighty mogul or the opening salvo in a saga of mutual destruction that will redraw the map of fame itself. What do you think? Are we witnessing the collapse of a tyrant or a chess match where every piece is stained? Share your fiercest theories below, and until the next bombshell drops, hold your loved ones close, keep your ears to the ground, and say goodnight with hearts racing and eyes wide open.